Gina, I have some changes to make to my host consent agenda. So in our list, will you please remove Brett Cox, high school Spanish teacher? In case anybody's wondering, there was a retirement following his notification. That's the reason for his removal. Please remove Carrington Weekly and Chris Howell. Both of those individuals were approved on one-year contracts. Their contracts will end regardless of board action tonight, so we're removing them from the table. Now, we are going to table any discussion around Ethan Fleming, his conditional teacher status ends at the end of this year, and discussion of the certificated athletic director needs to wait until, quite frankly, the action items later in this agenda. So we will have another discussion regarding Mr. Fleming in a future meeting. Those are the only changes I have.
Okay. All right. Do we have an approval of the agenda with the changes?
I move to approve the agenda.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to, what was that? Dan. Danielle works and then Dan. All right, we are going to move on to delegations. Student of the year.
Yes, thank you very much, Gina. Probably my favorite board meeting of the year. And obviously, we moved it, after 2 years of discussion, we decided that we weren't going to fill up the boardroom for third year. So we have our principals and a whole bunch of students of the year for each grade level. And so we're going to start with Ms. Upton at the elementary and have her come up. And Gina, thank you for signing the certificate prior to the meeting. But we'll have Ms. Upton come up and introduce her students of the year.
Try that again. Hi everyone, I am Mrs. Upton and I am the principal of the elementary school. And I have the esteemed honor of introducing our TK through 5th grade student of the year recipient. So I am going to read what all of their teachers said about them, and then I will call them down one by one. So Mrs. Davis is our TK teacher, and she had this to say about this year's Student of the Year award winner. So I am pleased to nominate Kingsley Sandoval for the Cuyahoga City School Student of the Year Award. As her TK teacher, I've noticed that she is an exceptionally hard worker in everything that she tackles. She maintains excellent behavior in all of her other classes, demonstrating respect, responsibility, and a positive attitude toward both her peers and teachers. I strongly recommend her for this recognition and believe she is highly deserving of this award. Thank you for your consideration. Kingsley, can you come down and get your award, please? For kindergarten, Mrs. Martinez and Mrs. Mendoza nominated Sawyer Morgan and had this to say. Sawyer has been a stellar student all year long. He is responsible and helps with many tasks, such as relaying messages, escorting students, and picking up materials. He is observant. He watches how our classes run and helps students with routines. He is well behaved, and we have had no issues with him in class or out of class. He is very engaged and always gives a great effort. Because of his high effort and engagement, he is reading fluently in English and Spanish. He is a part of our new dual language program. So Sawyer, can you come down and get your award, please? Sophia Boteo from first grade, and her teacher, Miss Morrison, had this to say. Our first grade team unanimously decided that Sophia should receive this award. Sophia has not only blossomed academically and is exceeding grade level in all areas, but has been a true example of being respectful, responsible, and safe. Sophia, a quiet and shy student, has proved that leaders are not always loud, outgoing, or even popular. She has shown great patience, kindness, and humor throughout the school year. When she has something to say or contribute to the class, everyone listens. If a peer needs help, she helps without hesitation or request. Even though Sophia is reading above grade level, she continues to set goals for herself to improve her reading level, which is a skill not many first graders do. If she doesn't get 100% on a spelling test one week, she doesn't get defeated and give up, but rather studies harder and works harder. She is someone who truly has a growth mindset. It is my personal honor as her teacher to not only nominate her to the team, but nominate her to you and the board as this year's recipient for first grade. Our second grade recipient is Ishmael Ibarra, and his second grade teacher had this to say. I would like to nominate Ishmael for the Student of the Year award. When I met Ishmael in first grade, he was very timid and shy. He rarely spoke up or shared his thoughts. At the beginning of this school year, his mother wrote that he gets frustrated when people can't understand what he is saying. This year, the timid young boy I once knew is gone, and in his place is a confident young man. He has become a class leader, a role model, and a jokester who brings joy to those around him. He is humble and kind, thankful and gracious. He helps keep his classmates on track while always remaining respectful and encouraging. During our community jobs unit, Ishmael shared that he wanted to become a teacher. One day, after joking that I was slacking, I challenged him. I gave him my teacher voice and said, "Show me how it's done." He was a little nervous at first, but stepped into the role, bringing students inside from recess with excellent classroom management. He smoothly guided the class through the transition from recess to cleanup, organizing everyone and getting students back to their seats successfully. Ishmael demonstrates an eagerness to learn, a genuine desire to help others succeed. His growth in confidence, communication, leadership, and character has been remarkable to witness. I am incredibly proud to call Ishmael my student, and I hope that I am lucky enough to be his teacher again in the future. Our third grade student is Darius Harmon, and his teacher, Mrs. Wolf, had this to say. I would like to nominate Darius Harmon for the Student of the Year Award. Darius has shown incredible growth and determination throughout his elementary years. He progressed from the beginning of second grade reading level to reading on grade level this year. Demonstrating perseverance, hard work, and a strong commitment to improving himself academically. He is very strong in math and consistently shows confidence and skills in both areas. Darius is a wonderful student, friend, and classmate. He comes to school each day with a smile on his face and brings positivity to our classroom environment. I have had the privilege of having Darius in my class in kindergarten, second grade, and third grade, which has allowed me to watch him grow into an amazing young student and person. While I am sad to see him move on, I am confident he will continue to do amazing things throughout the rest of his education. Darius truly deserves this honor for his resilience, growth, positive attitude, and dedication to learning. Our fourth grade team nominated Josh McLean, and two of his teachers had this to say. Josh has been a student that we have seen a lot of growth in this year in both Mr. Peck's class and Miss Alvarado's intervention class. He perseveres, has a great attitude, and has done inspiring things throughout the year that both of us have noticed. He is a passionate writer and is very creative with his stories that he likes to write. Earlier this year, Josh decided he wanted to spread kindness. So he wrote letters to teachers, paras, and other adults in the building, letting us know how great we are. He is a great example for other students that while life can be hard, it doesn't have to be a crutch to hold you back when you have goals, and writing is a big one for Josh. Our fifth grade award goes to Deleza Lorenas. And her teacher had this to say. Deleza is a shining example of the big three: respectful, responsible, and safe. She perseveres through tasks that are challenging with a positive attitude and with a genuine smile. She is kind, she is helpful, and she is an absolute pleasure to have in my class.
All right, good everybody. I'm Bruce Davison, principal at Tybee Middle School. It is my honor tonight to introduce the middle school students of the year. These are students that have shown exceptional, outstanding Cub power all year. And it is with great pride that we recognize Todd Tannen as our 6th grade Student of the Year. Come on down, Todd. Thanks to his parents, Michael and Rhonda, for sharing him with us every day. Stand right next to you, young man. Todd truly embodies Cub power, consistently demonstrating integrity, perseverance, and leadership in everything he does. He is currently earning a perfect 4.0 GPA. Clearly showing hard work and determination are part of his daily routine. Todd's teachers rave about his attention to detail, his kindness, and support for classmates, and the pride that he takes in every assignment and classroom experiment. Simply put, Todd makes excellence look easy. And he does it all with a positive attitude and a smile. Congratulations, Todd, 6th grade Student of the Year. Okay, on to 7th grade Student of the Year. Clara Kalinga, come on down. Thanks to Dottie and Beth Kalinga for sharing Clara with us every day. Come on over here, Clara. All right, Clara exemplifies what it means to be a true Chi V Cub, consistently demonstrating dedication, leadership, and school spirit in all that she does. She maintains an outstanding 4.0 GPA. She contributes to our school through leadership class, planning school dances, athletics, and our cheer team. That's what, a couple years old? 2 years? Yeah, she's been on there for 2 years. It's been a lot of fun. So Clara's commitment to excellence, both in and out of the classroom, sets a positive example for her peers. Her ability to balance academics, activities, and leadership with such grace and enthusiasm make her truly deserving of this honor. Congratulations, Clara, 7th grade Student of the Year. On to 8th grade Student of the Year, Paisley Minnick. Come on down. Hi, Paisley. Paisley also exemplifies what it means to be a Chi V Cub, demonstrating leadership, positivity, and dedications in all aspects of her school and life. She is on track to earn another impressive 4.0. While remaining active in athletics and leadership, including serving as our ASB president. Madam President, Paisley has a natural ability to bring joy to those around her, consistently putting a smile on her faces of peers and staff alike. Her strong character, commitment to excellence, and uplifting spirit make her truly deserving of this recognition. Once again, let's give it up for Paisley Minnick, 8th grade. All right, thank you. Just 3 grades at the middle school, so Mrs. Upton, maybe we'll switch roles one time and you'll just have a shorter presentation. But thanks, everybody. And finally, Mr. Henry from Peggy High School.
So I feel kind of bad because I think when we set this up a little bit ago, I told them to go to the school board room. So, but I want to make sure people know who they are. And I have one of the students here. But these are students that have done well over years and or this year. Not always perfect, not always great, but always badly. We do a lot of the honor roll, we do a lot of the, like outside, we had our athletic awards tonight. And so it's important that I think we recognize those kids who fight hard all the time and make sure that they're given some kind of recognition. And so these students, all these students go above and beyond every year. There's members of the clubs, athletics, gear up, and other activity groups. Well, they all fought hard to stay on track, to graduate on time, do whatever is thrown at them, which includes illness, family, homelessness, hardships, and academic difficulty. I would say that they all have grit, determination, and perseverance. Anytime anyone needs help, there was someone that was there in a split second to help. The advisories of the students that usually step up to help out. I'd like to recognize the 9th grade student of the year, Raul Enriquez. I'm guaranteed his mom and dad are very happy. Raul is a student that fought hard all year, and he's passing all his classes now. He's doing well, and he did in soccer, and I just really wanted to recognize him for what he's done, along with the rest of our members. So I'm going to name the others. Sophomore of the year is Noah Enriquez. Not related. Our junior of the year is Anthony Poyer. And our senior of the year is Brittany Finley. So please, this is a great honor for me. Thank you all for being here.
And with that, we will go ahead and release our Students of the Year, many family members who came to join them, as well as many staff members who came to join, the family members who came to join the kids. Thank you so much.
Well, I had more comments, but everything kind of changed as soon as we came in here. Things were taken off. So I just wanted to say I have a few comments about the proposed consent agenda, although it has been altered. I think if we truly believe that students are first, then the last place we should cut is the classroom. My position is simple. Protect direct instruction and safety. Reduce administrative overhead where possible before we ask one more teacher to absorb larger classrooms or lose one more great leader, or great teacher.
I have safety concerns getting rid of the middle school teacher. We do not have a male teacher in there, so I find that was one of my questions, which has been taken off the agenda. But I do feel that I just don't feel that it's appropriate to cut teachers before we look at cuts to administration or other avenues that do not directly affect our students. I understand there'll be cuts and it will be painful. I just hope we make the right ones. So far, all we've seen is cuts to teachers and then to administration. And that's all I have to say.
I had a question on, what's the difference in the two payroll vouchers? Is one teaching and one administrative, or how's it split out? Because we don't get the detail on that in the financials.
That's basically just the way that it's paid. They're all, there's no, it's not set out like one is admin, one is teacher, things like that.
So they couldn't just, they can't all just go on one voucher, is that,
No, because one is physical checks and one is each.
oh, okay. I do agree with, what Tressa's saying in terms of, I looked it up today and we have 17 clerical office positions. That to me, I don't know what if there's an FTE ratio for clerical to office, but, we've cut probably almost somewhere between 15 and 20 teachers, and we haven't seen one note about any administrative cuts or anything like that. So, to me, being in business, 17 clerical office, that ratio seems high for what we, for 3 schools and a district office. So I would agree with what Tressa said.
Any more comments, questions? Approval of the modified proposed consent agenda as written.
I make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will be moving on to public comment. I do have one electronic that I will read, and then we will move on. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to up to the podium, I will read the spiel that we have to do beforehand. So we have an electronic email from Heidi Rogers. My name is Heidi Rogers. I have a few questions for the board. Please respond via email. Was the position of Assistant Financial Director posted? If so, when? If not, why? What are the qualifications the Finance Director and Assistant Finance Director have? The public has stated at meetings that until the current superintendent is gone, they will vote no on anything put on a ballot. Why is his contract still under consideration for renewal? When will the board vote on that? Thank you, Heidi Rogers. Do we have anybody that would like to come up? Let me read this real quick.
I don't have a question, I just have.
I have to read this real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Just let me read it and then read this. The board welcomes input from the community. Please follow the public comment procedures by stating your name at the podium when recognized by the chair. Each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. The board is not allowed to discuss items not on the agenda. The board will direct the superintendent to follow up on any items that arise during public comment as appropriate. The board will not allow complaints against any individual, staff member, or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. No student or employee names can be used.
My name is Ivan Howard, born and raised in this lovely little town. All my children and grandchildren go here. And I would just like to make the comment to the folks here, this is a public school. These folks sitting right here, you're their boss. So I suggest everybody tell their family members, if you want to see changes like, is it Tressa and Mike talk about, cutting administrative costs instead of our teachers, cutting things like sports programs for our children to keep them out of mischief and everything else. It's time we stand up as a community and let these folks know where the rubber meets the road. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Do you have anybody else?
Just hold it.
Press the button during the time.
There you go.
Hi, I'll use some notes here. My name is Teresa Oliver, and I have been following our district life for the last few weeks and months and been doing some research. And some of the topics that have come up during budget meetings and board meetings is there seems to be a great deal of disconnect between the community understanding what's happening with the district finances. And I think that there are a couple of things that we can do. At these meetings, we've had a ton of community turn out and want to be involved or ask questions or research grants or anything, fundraisers, anything to change our position. So my thought was, I wondered if we couldn't create 2 community committees, and I use the term advisory, but whatever you want to call them. And the 2 committees would of course have board oversight and board representation, but they would be one committee that would have to do with finances, budget, communicating finances so that non-CPAs can make sense of them. That committee would also be involved with levy fundraising and levy education for the community. And the other committee would be a communications committee that would fill this gap that we have where we just don't understand. We feel like we're not getting full transparency. That seems to be a common comment during the meetings and whatnot. So that was what came to mind. Moses Lake has both of those. They have a community finance oversight committee that meets every month and that has board representation. So that was what I proposed and would suggest that we should look into to make use of the community's enthusiasm and involvement. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? Thank you for those who came up. We will be moving on to
Hold it.
Good evening. My name is Isaiah Sanchez, and I'm the Vice President of the Future Businesses of America and a student at KD. A few weeks ago, I stood in front of this board and shared a list of grants our school hasn't applied to yet. Grants that I think could help replace what we lost when the levy didn't pass. Today I'm back because I'm thinking bigger. What if this community didn't have to depend on a levy passing or a grant coming through every single time KD needs something? What if we built something permanent, something that belongs to the community that could always be there for the students? I want to propose that this board endorse the formation of a 501c3 nonprofit organization, a community foundation dedicated entirely to supporting KID students and programs. I know what you're thinking. It could be complicated. That sounds expensive, and it looks like that's not the way big districts can do, not small ones like ours. But I've done research. The total cost to form this nonprofit is between $365 and $595. It can be up and running within 10 weeks. Right now, when KID needs money, the options are limited. We apply for the grant the districts qualify for. We try to pass levies. We cut programs and hope for the best. A 501c3 nonprofit changes that entirely. First, it opens the door to grants that the school district cannot apply for on its own. Foundations, corporations, and several federal programs won't give money to nonprofits. Right now, those doors are closed to Kennedy. This foundation will open them. Second, it allows the community to accept tax-deductible donations. Every farm, local business, and family that wants to help Kennedy but has nothing to give because there's nowhere official to go, now they have a place. And they get a tax write-off for doing it. It can fund the district's hands, fund things the district's hands are tied on. Bus transportation for sports, musical instruments, athletic uniforms, a band to get ready to serve students to Columbia Basic College, things that fall through the cracks of a school budget, but don't have to fall through the cracks of the community that cares. And fourth, it's permanent. Even after the levy passes someday, even when things get better, this foundation stays. It becomes a cushion, not a safety net. Something Penn City built for itself that no budget can take away. I put together a complete step-by-step guide. It's in a document I handed you guys. Every filing, deadlines, cost, and 10-week timeline for the first meeting to the IRS approval. These are community members that are ready to serve on our founding board. There are people willing to do the work. What we need tonight is this board's endorsement. The endorsement tells grant funders we are organized and united. It tells local businesses that donations have somewhere to go, and it tells the community that the school and supporters are all together. And thank you.
Do we have anybody else who would like to come up and speak? Last call. Okay, we will be moving on to unfinished business with the financial update from John Hassel.
So the cash flow continues to be an issue, but we are actually still staying slightly ahead of our projected ending balance, which is nice to see. In addition, the ending cash balance won't be positive, but like I said, even with rising costs and everything that's going on with these people, we're still maintaining right at that projected amount, if not slightly lower. At the next board meeting on June 8th, I'll be bringing the budget extension request to the board to extend our 25 and 26 budget. If that is approved, upon the approval, I will send the documents to the ESD so that they can review it, approve it, and then that will actually start off the negotiations with the state and ESD. The budget process that we can talk about is ongoing. As of right now, my best estimate is that our revenues are going to be about $21.5 million for 26-27 school year, which is a little over $1 million less than last year. And this is based off 1,200 students and then 53 students in our Running Start program. Based off of basically the enrollment that we've been seeing, and then again, just off estimates based on those numbers. I also want to call out that the state audit that we talked about was finished up recently, has now been published on the state auditor's office website. So if anybody would like to go read that, that is actually out there. That is all I have to call out, unless y'all have any questions.
So the budget you bring on June 8th, that's like a framework, that's not a final budget? Is that-
Yeah, it's an extension. Basically, every year, we pretty much have to come to the board at the end of the year and say, okay, just to make sure that we're protected and we don't have to go through a longer convoluted process, we're gonna ask for this extension. It's usually not spent, all of it, but it's one of those things that if we do not request it, and we go over it, then it's a much longer process that we have to go with, through OFBI and ESD to explain to them what happened, what our plans are, et cetera, et cetera. Where if we do this ahead of time, then we can actually just bypass all those things.
Do we have an update on the binding agreement with the state?
That won't actually get begun until we file the budget. No, the county is just basically discussions with the county. our cash balances, what our plans are, what we're doing. So this is more of a, with the ESD, the lighting commission, the OPI, that's more of an official situation. Official process. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other questions regarding the financial updates? All right, we will move on to the budget workshop discussion. Pete?
Thank you very much. I wanted to touch base because we had very good turnout on both of our advisory sessions for the board to meet with community members. And I know during one or both of those meetings, we made a commitment to hold another one in June, and wanted to put that out for discussion. Look at your calendars now, and get a sense. We have our regularly scheduled meeting on the 8th, and then again on the 22nd. It would be my recommendation that we look at somewhere between the 10th and the 17th or 18th of June, which keeps us in between those two meetings. If the board could take a look at their calendars, and I will send a couple suggestions in those time frames. If you could look at your calendars ahead of time, because we obviously like to publicize that prior to the 22nd, which will be when the board hears the first report of a draft budget for 26-27.
The next one would be a 6:30 PM meeting as well.
Correct. Assuming that works with all of your calendars,
Yeah, if you could just send us everybody in that conflicts with the work dates and what you know in advance. Get a date scheduled. Do we have any other budget workshop? And I'll see what we got.
But it was, there was no shyness, which is good, because I think, we've had, from what I've heard, meetings weren't well attended in the past, or even attended, so it was good to see a really passionate and committed and, interested in Kaiser School District. I was very, upbeat after both meetings, even though there were some pretty stinging comments that were more on track than off, so appreciated that. Some guts that came out in those meetings, so I appreciated it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and there were definitely some things that were topics that pretty much everyone hit on, which was really nice to be able to see. And it's stuff that we already know, but it's nice to know that we share the same viewpoint as a community on that. Also, something for me that really stuck out was and this is kind of a little bit of an ask, but I think it would be really awesome to hold some informational sessions for our community, so our community understands how our school district is funded. That is huge. Understanding how it's funded, where it's funded, what money can be spent where. I think that's really, really important when we're talking about public funds coming into a public school district. I don't know where the gentleman went to, but he's correct. Like, it's a public school district, right? We work for our community. And so I want to make sure that our community understands where our money is coming from, and where it's getting spent and how it gets there.
All right, if nobody has any other comments, then we student representation discussions.
Thank you, Gina. So the board, again, has made several references to revisiting previous topics we've had over the past couple of years, and that is student representation on the school board. And I want to bring that topic up again so that I can get sense from the board in its entirety where we're sitting with that discussion, so that I can then go out and solicit options. As I have explained to the board in the past, there are multiple models that school districts within our region and within the state, quite frankly, use. Some are a separately elected representative, some have one-year terms, some have two-year terms. Some tie student representation on the school board to the office of president or vice president of ASB. So what I'm hoping is that I can get commitment from the board tonight to move forward, and then at our next meeting, bring you some actual possibilities to consider with some pros and cons from each of the various models. But I'd open that up for discussion. Like I said, this was first brought up several years ago and several iterations of the school board ago. So I want to make sure that the current board members get an opportunity to weigh in.
One of the questions that came up in the workshops was, do other school districts include middle school representation?
None of the regional ones that I have reached out to or that have responded back to my requests for information have indicated that there are any middle schools. It is the only divergence that I've been able to ascertain at this point is differences between single high school communities and multiple high school communities, where each high school may have a representative on the board, almost to a person who I have received input from. They are usually sophomores and juniors going into the next school year, or freshman and a sophomore who would then serve a 2-year term.
So there would be more than one representative?
There are models that have a single, and I've come across as many as 3.
Representative for each grade, seniors, not.
So usually what the responses that I'm getting back from area districts are a single or 2 representatives from one high school, or if multiple high schools in the district, a single front. Always with the idea that, I have not seen a model where an incoming freshman is chosen as a board representative. It is always a current freshman, sophomore, or junior, then moving into a 1- or 2-year term.
Yeah, I think year one, maybe it becomes almost like, how Tressa and Danielle got on, where there's like an interest form or something, get interviewed by the board, and then, because I think it'd be it wouldn't be, I don't see it super negative, but incoming ASB president, that wasn't part of their, to-do list, going into 26, 27, so, I can see the case for 1 or 2. I'd lean on you and Mr. Henry, and, in terms of how what best represents, if we had 2 equal candidates, I think we'd put them both on, it kind of becomes they help each other, it can be kind of intimidating when people that graduated 47 years ago, like I did, but I think 1 or 2 and a 1-year term to start, and we could have further discussions for 27, 28 about whether it's ASB president or something. my thoughts.
Yeah, in my experience, I've seen it to where it is, to start, it would be like a senior for next year and then a junior, and that junior has a 2-year. So it would be a junior and a senior. And so that junior would then go into the senior role, and we'd bring in a new junior. And so it would be 2 years, into their later junior, senior year. And I've seen it work really, really well in multiple districts. I would like to see what the models look like. That's just the one that I'm familiar with, but I'm sure there's several beyond that out there that would be very beneficial. And I think that having a student voice directly to the board is important.
I think that having a student voice directly to the board also makes things aware of the daily student activities to the board, what's important to the students, not just the community, but specifically those that are at the school, what they're doing. I think it's a good idea for them to.
I think in taking a look at it, it is a good idea. The one thing I think, having had a little experience with advisory groups and boards, is there has to be an understanding of the role. Because otherwise, you almost get into a situation where the board has to look at all of the situation and what they're addressing. And then all of a sudden, they have to say, this is what we've got to do to move ahead. The advisory group can be very, very helpful, but at the very end of the day, the board is the one that's going to say, look, we understand what the situation is like in any business. We understand what your situation is, but we can't do that. Here's the best we can do, and that type of thing. So it has to be somewhat controlled, so it doesn't become almost a second board that's there. Because otherwise it can create some problems with the board of the board. So I like the idea of the advice, but I think that's really where it comes down to.
I think that would be included in the framework of what would be adopted.
Yep.
So I think that would definitely be something that what's proposed
Yeah.
would be looked at for approving for however the board chooses to move forward with that. When you give information that we propose, do we also get information on the size of the schools that
Yep.
this applies to?
Absolutely.
Do you have any other discussions that we would like to have with student representation? We're all
Oh, I
in
will.
agreement.
Okay, so I will bring the board, I would say at least 3, no more than 5 options. I'm assuming that some of them are going to be rather similar for the June 8th meeting.
We will move on to new business, middle school, high school sports discussion.
Yes, thank you very much, Gina. Mark, can we have the screen going?
All right.
And I kind of had a realization that it was, when I saw it, that we might have some trouble with the board seeing it, so I'm going to pass these down. So what I've got for you tonight is simply a breakdown of our district athletic costs that Mr. Hassel put together. And effort to assist the board, and we are not looking for a hard and fast determination of programs, individual program determination, or anything like that. My goal tonight is to give you an overview of the total cost. This is the current school year, 25-26, and what the district has outlaid in athletics this school year. And so Mr. Hassel would also be available to take any questions. And what we've done is, on the first page is giving you the total cost analysis for 25-26, from pay to officials, benefits, payroll taxes, all the way down to miscellaneous services, clinics, sales tax on items, for the entire district. So as a district this year, and this does not include transportation, obviously, because transportation has not existed this year. But the total cost is $331,000 and change. You turn to the next page, you see the high school cost. And again, same basic items, although with the amounts, a few of them have shifted. The high school cost for athletics. Yes?
I have a question. So
Yep.
on this, and it says it on the other one too, but it says benefits. What is included in benefits for coaching staff?
So the district or any employee, regardless of classification or amount, has to pay a certain amount of benefits in their total benefit package gets included, or a percentage of their benefits package is actually garnered from coaching salaries. So when you talk about salary and benefits, this is the salary is the pay side. The benefits is the insurance costs, things like that are associated with each employee. And then payroll taxes are like any other item. So if you wanted to know the total personnel costs, you would add up pay, benefits, and payroll taxes. That is not inclusive, those we're talking people, that is not inclusive of officials. Officials is a flat fee, does not include any benefits because they're not our employees. So at the high school level, all teams, one thing to note during 25-26 is this does not include a spring tennis team because we were unable to get a coach for the team, and not hard to imagine without a coach, it was a little difficult to get kids who were signing up for tennis prior to the cutoff date. So not including one boys and girls sport, tennis can count as one of each. And you go to the next page, which is the middle school cost. Again, same standards with a total cost of $99,600. So the breakdown, as you can see, it makes a lot of sense in my world because you have many more teams at the high school level than you do at the middle school level. You have more events at the high school level than you do at the middle school level, which means your officials' costs are going to be higher, and of course your coaching costs are going to be higher because of the sheer number of coaches. This is a part of a larger discussion, as you can imagine. What I'm looking for or asking for the board tonight is simply a discussion, as well as my recommendation to the the board that we go ahead and authorize at a minimum high school varsity athletics today, tonight if possible, because there are certain items on the calendar that need to be accomplished. So I would ask that the board consider approving at least high school varsity athletics so that we can then turn around and submit to the WIAA for 26-27 school year, as well as notify our league, who are busy developing schedules, that at least at this point we are going to schedule varsity league matches. And will allow then all of the athletic directors in the league to get together and schedule non-league events. I don't think it would be fair to put this particular decision off until seeing the entire budget on the 22nd of June, because by that time, quite frankly, the WIA is going to get fairly annoyed. We want to know if we're in or not, and it will allow the rest of the league to move forward. I realize that there will still have to be larger discussions around sub-varsity contests, as well as middle school. But I believe some discussion tonight could help Mr. Hassel, myself, and Mr. Hollebeck in development of that draft budget for the 22nd of June.
I'm a huge advocate for athletics. I coach in another district, and I have a front seat view, like a front row view of the positive things athletics do for athletes. As a board member and someone who's sitting here with a crunched budget, I guess it's really difficult for me to make any decisions around cutting pretty much anything unless I have a line-by-line item, like this is what it costs. So when you're saying to us, you know, potentially approve varsity athletics, well, what does that cost? What's this for that? And like, this is great. But when we're talking about pay, like total cost, I think that it's important to include things. And I know that there's been some inclusion elsewhere, but like to include, like this is very, very, very basic. I want something that is line item specific. So when we're talking about varsity sports, I want to know how much it costs to have coaching staff for football. I want to know how much it costs to have coaching staff for volleyball, softball, track. And like associated with that, when I'm asking like for benefits, I want to know what those benefits are and what they cost for each person. Like if I were doing my budget at home, like if I'm going to the grocery store, I need to know how much grapes cost. Like if money's that tight, and money is that tight when we're talking about cutting teachers, athletics, clubs, sports, all those things, money's tight. So I don't feel like I can make an informed decision without a line-by-line, penny for penny accountable, like information.
Would it be agreeable that we have this broken down by varsity sports, baby sports, the same line item broken down that way, so we would possibly potentially do just for varsity?
Absolutely.
Just so that we have, because this is a lump sum of the high school. We have, I don't know, all of the sports that we have this year that have an A squad, B squad, maybe varsity. It's too big of a thing. So that maybe we can have this broken down to what would varsity, what would do.
Absolutely.
I think I agree with that, and I think that, I'm a huge advocate for sports. I'm probably a bigger advocate for middle school, just for keeping kids on track for wanting to go to high school. But, you know, I look at this and, you know, for where we are, varsity only, I think there are opportunities. You know, I don't think football needs 6 assistants. You know, I think you can get by. I don't think baseball needs a head coach and 2 extra coaches, you know, those for just varsity. So I think there's opportunities to look at, you know, I mean, I would tell you today that I'm not gonna waver on supporting high school sports. You know, I think I'd also like to see, you know, an opportunity around, a pay-to-play model. I know there's not, you know, we're not a rich district, but that type of thing, I think there are some opportunities around scholarships and those types of things where, you know, like Isaiah was talking about, you know, the booster club, those types of things, but I do think we have to have, gotta be some skin in the game too. So, but I also think we can pare down the amount of coaches and come to I think that, I mean, I agree with, you know, what Danielle and Gina are saying. I think we can wait till June 8th, to make that discussion, but I would tell you, my vote's not gonna be any different June 8th than it is today. I would vote yes for school sports, but I would like to see and understand what that cost structure does look like with, you know, some practicality and real life added to it. And get an understanding, you know, what would be, and I don't know the other school districts, if there's a pay-to-play model in the other school districts, I think there are. You know, or fundraisers that the teams have to participate in. We bought an awful lot of work when we were at Clackamas High School, so, you know, those types of things. But I think we should move forward, but I don't think we could give a formal approval, and I think June 8th.
I like what I'm hearing, and I think there's some direction to it, that is very, very helpful. But just having done this, you want to watch it and understand and get a full picture before we start looking at actual pieces within that budget and saying, well, we really need to do this or that. Because there's a level there that you begin to step down, and it becomes a lot more complicated as to how it's going to work into that specific sport and the assistance and that type of thing is going to be required. The other thing is that, as has happened before, you can end up in a situation where a sport doesn't get a lot of support, or as much support as another one, and then it becomes a problem of popularity as opposed to.
One of the things that I would like to see too is the ASB revenue.
From ticket sales.
Well, yeah, so, because there is some funding that comes, a little bit of funding that comes through ASB money for sports. And so, I would like to see those numbers too, on what that looks like. And if there's any, like, revenue of it, or is it just completely a loss? Does that make sense?
Would that include, you know, many of our teams do have team-specific accounts within, I would assume you would want that as well.
I think it's important to note the decrease in attendance, which will also affect our budget if we do not have student support. True.
Also, there is possibility of updating this with what portion of this is levy dollars, where we will, so that we have an idea of those costs.
I think if there was a pay to play, I think you could get alumni sponsoring people. I know I can get several people to sponsor athletes. So I think that could be something that could work also.
Yeah, I would prefer to sit here for like 5 or 10 hours and hash it out to make it work than to cut stuff that really does personally affect each of our students and our families. I mean, I'm absolutely not the only person in this room that sat for hours in really uncomfortable bleachers watching my kid perform what ungodly sport they wanted to perform, you know, where you sit there for like, I'm a track and field coach, so you, as a parent, sitting there for 5 to 10 hours a day to watch a track meet and your kid runs the 100 for 13 seconds, right? So, yeah. I don't want to sit and pretend that like we're not up against really hard decisions, but I also, if we're going to cut stuff, I would prefer to not cut the things that affect our kids.
So what if I can recap to make sure that I took notes properly? I'm going to find some pay-to-play options comparable, preferred, like-size districts. We'll itemize by varsity, JV, any C squad beyond that. We will break down the minimum number of coaches. I do want to put in there, I think it's important for us to say minimum number of coaches as is currently reflected by the collective bargaining agreement, because we cannot arbitrarily decide how many coaches per sport. That has to be bargained in good faith. And then we're going to we're going to identify ASB revenues as well as team-specific accounts and levy funding, at least for the first half of this year.
The other thing that just came to mind is, like, what's WIA's take on, like, if, you know, our little ranch wanted to sponsor baseball, can businesses sponsor school teams?
They can sponsor to the general athletics fund in order to assure that no sport is overfunded or is funded more than another.
Right.
There has to be some equity when those types of donations take place or when sponsorships happen.
If we have sports boosters, that's where that comes in. So, like my husband and I personally have a business where we've donated money to sports teams, but we have to go through the boosters so that it can go directly to that specific sport, like in a line item.
Mr. Hassel, and I'll make sure we have this available to the board on June 8th.
Well, I mean, again, I think, you know, you talk a lot about sports, but, you know, any of the other club type stuff that have advisors and those types of things, it's good to have all of that included as, you know, if FFA advisor gets paid that's, you know, FBLA, those types of things. If there's any other advisory stipends that go out, I think, you know, because I don't want it just to become a discussion about, you know, sports only, you know, if there's, you know, drama club or any of that type of stuff, I think we should see all of it.
I think the balance, what we're talking about, I think there really needs to be a balance. The other concern is that within any one of those categories like athletics, you're going to have certain sports that have high attention. You know, the school really likes that, or at least the population of the school. That's not only the students, that's the people. And then you're going to have others that are, the only experience I've had with that is that sometimes there has to be a real eye kept on that, so that one sport with maybe less following or popularity doesn't get somehow slighted down as opposed to another, and then that can create that whole activity why is this group getting more funding first than this? That's, there has to be a real understanding of these people as to why, it costs this amount as opposed to, say, football, basketball, whatever.
All right, if you don't have any other comments or discussions for the sports, we will move on to minutes from 5/11/26 for approval. Anybody have any comments or questions? Review them.
We approve the previous meeting minutes as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I did. Okay, okay, we will have to let's redo again. You were not at the last meeting for the 5/11. So just abstain your vote. Okay. So all in favor of the approval of the meetings as minutes as written for 5/11?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are going to move on to board comments.
Just an update from the budget workshops. A couple things that I took away with contact Senator Dozier and Representative Rude. First question was if Perry and Skylar would come talk with a group of students. So working with them on finding a couple dates that might work on that process to come, we could get a date, they'd come talk for 60 to 90 minutes and get a student perspective about, school funding in Washington and Kybee in particular. So then the other question I had, it just seems, to me, it seems nonsensical, that's the word I used for those guys, was that 4 days school weeks, it is restricted to 33 districts and 1,000 kids or less. That just seems arbitrary to me, and what needs to be done to, if every school district saw the same types of improvements around attendance, teacher attendance, reduction in cost as Finley has, why that isn't an option for every school that wants to go after that. So I'll keep the board updated as Perry and Skylar get back to me on that. And then I know we talked about it a little bit last meeting, that there is some work going in around the Booster Club. I would appreciate if, we could get an update from whoever's representing the Booster Club at one of the next meetings too, to see, where that is and how it's going. So,
Who was heading that up?
There was, I know that Kimmy is on there, Kimmy Forces is on there, Smith, I can't remember, but there is a list. They've already got board members, they have a president, a vice president, secretary. Yeah.
When we come up with a program, that all for that type of thing, when we come up with a program, will they come up through the school for approval of direction or anything like that? So we don't have an organization. My concern is, that we wouldn't want an organization coming in and saying, well, we're going to fund this and this and this, and be somewhat separated from the school district, especially the organizations that are affected, let's say a sport or something.
So while the school district would have no direct input into formation of any booster club or any other 501(c), in order for us to accept a donation, they would have to do it within our guidelines. Obviously, their business is their business, and, my past experience, booster clubs, both academic or athletic, were to make sure that we had a representative from the school board from the school district at those meetings, so that those types of restrictions or, assurances of equity on donations, that those are well in front of any potential donation or funding, so that there aren't any bad feelings or misguided attempts to fund one program.
Yeah, you've got the point exactly, because that's actually what I've seen in my time on the board.
So this is a post from the Kybe Boosters. It says, "We'd like to thank everyone for early support and engagement as we begin the exciting work of reestablishing the Kybe Bears Booster Club. We are proud to introduce our newly formed Booster Club board and to share our mission with the community. We recognize the need of our school's athletic programs, and our primary objective is to provide the support and funding necessary to sustain and strengthen school sports, both now and for years to come. We are currently in the early stages of rebuilding the Booster Club with plans to open participation to the broader community in the near future. Fundraising initiatives and events are also in development, and we look forward to sharing more details soon. Our youth are our future. They deserve the very best we can provide. We invite you to follow our page, stay connected, and join us as we work together to support Kybe Bears athletics." The president is Josh Smith, Vice President Kimmy Forsmith, Treasurer Molly Reed, Secretary Michelle Smith, Communications Aaron Nguyen, and Athletic Director is Keithon Fleming. The page is named Kybe Bears Boosters. So, go follow.
Let's take it here. I'm glad that the community is getting back involved and trying to get that going. The Booster Club previously had a huge impact on the sport for all of the Kybe schools.
It's a lot of work. They need a lot of volunteers because the last board had very few people doing a whole additional work. So we need lots of people.
Do you have any other board comments?
For me, as we sit and talk about athletics this evening, I'm going to be participating as a coach in state track and field coming up at the end of this week, and so I just want to give a shout out to all of our kids who went into postseason at any level. It's a lot of work and dedication, and I've sat with athletes this week and cried with them when they didn't make it to the next level, and equally cried with them when they did make it to the next level, even whether expected or unexpected. And so I think it's a huge shout out to our kids who play sports all year, not just in the spring, but as we wrap up this academic year.
How many did we have on stage? Four.
On Thursday.
10:55. Is this a state? On Thursday, for state track and field.
The board doesn't have any other comments. We will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Gina. I will be brief. It's the end of the year, so I want to shout out for each of the buildings. First off, had an awesome time at the middle school music and art show, which was not last week, the week prior. I think it's really commendable to get music and art in the same place at the same time. The elementary has done it before, but the middle school is really making some nice progress. One of the things is, as I went around and looked at at the art pieces, and made the statement to Mr. Davison, who was there with me. The amount of progress that we've made in a very short amount of time in the visual arts, I think is very impressive. Music did a great job, but I was very impressed by the visual arts and what our kids were able to demonstrate. Then next is the elementary community barbecue. What a great experience. We had, according to J.D. Swader Food Services, we had 508 kids come through for barbecue that day, had 165 parents show up. The field was packed. And even better, had some parents who then went off to other parts of not just right at the barbecue area, but got a chance for a kind of an extended lunch / recess with their kids. So it was a really great event, wonderful day. Not much wind and 75, so we've been out there when it was in the low triple digits, so this was a nice one. And then, of course, graduation this Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning at the stadium. And hope to see as many board members as possible and as many of our community members there as well.
We'll set up for the graduation and board members, and that'd be pretty much the same that has been in the past.
Yep. I've got a map that Mr. Henry put together for all the staff who are assigned to certain areas, but I'll forward it to the board. So I won't go so far as to say you can pick your seat, but he's always got a chair reserved. And please, though, do let us know if you can bring any significant others so that we can reserve a seat for them. And that's all I've got.